My friends, we live in a world where many people think power comes from being loud, where presence is mistaken for popularity, and strength is seen as control. But let me share something that life has softly taught me over and over again. Those who truly hold power don't need to shout about it. They carry it in their calmness, their grace, and their quiet nature. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed someone who didn't say anything, yet somehow everyone felt her presence? That woman, the one who listens more than she talks, who watches more than she reacts. She is the true force. You see, silence is often misunderstood. People tend to think that if you're not speaking loudly, you lack confidence. But that isn't true. In fact, it takes real courage to stay calm when chaos is all around you. It takes inner strength to keep your peace when everyone else is rushing to be heard. Silence is not a sign of weakness. Silence is a form of mastery. There's a story I often tell. A woman once approached a wise spiritual guide and asked, "Why do others overlook me just because I choose not to argue?" The teacher smiled and replied, "Because they confuse noise with wisdom." But you, my dear, have chosen insight over recognition. When a woman learns how to stay still, not because she has nothing to say, but because she wisely picks what not to say, that is true power. When a woman walks away from conflict, not because she's afraid, but because she treasures her peace, that is strength. Silence is not only powerful, it is also full of dignity. Silence is a decision. And when you notice a woman who stays quiet in a noisy world, honor her, because she is not silent from fear. She is silent because she is strong. There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from being scared or unsure. It comes from emotional wisdom. When a woman stays quiet during moments where speaking would only make things worse, it's not because she lacks words. It's because she's wise enough to realize that not every emotion deserves a reaction, and not every conflict needs to be won. Her silence doesn't mean she's weak. It's her way of showing strength in the most peaceful form. Emotional maturity doesn't show up in loud voices. It appears as calm, steady, and rooted self-understanding. And when a woman decides to stay quiet in situations that would anger most, it means she's no longer ruled by ego. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be noticed or argue to be correct. She is content within herself, and that kind of peace is more powerful than any shout. Picture a work environment. There's a meeting where colleagues are busy arguing, each trying to get their point across, talking over one another, trying hard to be heard. In the middle of all that noise, there's a woman who remains quiet. She listens closely, pays attention, and waits. When she finally speaks, her words calm the storm, like a soft breeze after heavy winds. She didn't try to take over the room. Her silence gave her focus. Her calmness gave her strength. And because she spoke after understanding everything, her words had weight. That is what emotional maturity looks like. Or consider an argument in a relationship. A friend or partner says something hurtful or unfair. The usual response might be to snap back, to defend, to argue. But a wise woman understands something deeper. She knows that words said in anger are not always reflections of love. They are moments of emotional upset. She chooses stillness not because she agrees, but because she understands that when tempers flare, arguing won't solve anything. She listens, she pauses, and her silence sends the message that wisdom is present. Emotional maturity is not about holding in feelings. It's about learning to manage them. A quiet woman may feel very deeply, but she has mastered how to handle those emotions without letting them take over. She knows that anger is like a fire. It grows when more is added to it. So instead, she becomes the calm water, steady and powerful in its own way. That's why she doesn't respond to every insult or try to explain herself to everyone who doesn't understand her. Her peace is too valuable to be disrupted by every little thing. There's also something to learn from nature. The strongest trees don't sway with every wind. The ocean doesn't lose its depth just because there are waves on the surface. The same is true for the quiet woman. She doesn't react to every opinion or small challenge. She knows who she is, and she feels no need to prove anything. Her self-awareness gives her the ability to pick her battles wisely. It's not that she can't fight back. It's just that she knows most fights aren't worth the energy. There's great courage in staying silent in a world that praises loud voices. Constant attention and outward praise, it takes real strength to stay in the background. But the emotionally mature woman doesn't care to follow trends. She doesn't need outside approval to know her worth. She understands that real growth happens quietly, and real confidence doesn't need to be displayed. Don't mistake silence for avoidance. A quiet woman addresses what needs to be addressed, but she doesn't do it out of impulse, not in anger, and not just to win an argument. She waits until her heart is steady, her thoughts are clear, and her words have purpose. And when she does speak, people pay attention. Not because they're afraid, but because they respect her presence. This kind of strength doesn't come overnight. It is born from pain, from thinking deeply, from living through many experiences. It comes from having said too much before and realizing that it didn't fix anything. It comes from being misjudged and learning that explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand is not worth your time. It comes from the realization that silence often communicates more than sound ever could. So when you see a woman who chooses to stay silent, who responds with grace, even when she's pushed, understand that she's not weak, she's not cold, she's wise. Her strength isn't in how much she says, but in how deeply she feels, how wisely she chooses her words, and how calmly she carries herself when others might fall apart. Her silence is not empty. It is full of strength, filled with purpose, and guided by grace. She is the kind of woman who may not always speak loudly, but when she does, her voice is filled with clarity, peace, and meaning. And that is the kind of strength that leaves a lasting impression. It's filled with reflection, power, and intention. And that, my friend, is the kind of strength this noisy world truly needs. We live in a time where people often confuse power with loudness, presence with being seen everywhere, and strength with being forceful. But let me share, a quiet truth life has shown me again and again. The ones who carry real power don't have to shout about it. They show it in their calmness, in how they move, in their quiet strength. Have you ever walked into a place and noticed someone who didn't speak much, yet everyone knew she was there? That woman, the one who hears more than she talks, who pays attention more than she reacts. She is the true presence in the room. You see, the world often gets silence all wrong. Many people think if you're not speaking loudly, then you must not be confident. But that's not true at all. In fact, it takes real strength to stay calm when everything around you is loud and rushing. To keep your peace while others rush to be heard. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is a form of control. There's a story I often remember. A woman once asked a wise teacher, "Why do others think less of me when I choose not to argue?" The teacher smiled gently and said, "Because they confuse noise with wisdom." But you, my dear, have chosen understanding over attention. When a woman chooses stillness, not because she has nothing to add, but because she knows what doesn't need to be said, that is power. When she walks away from conflict, not because she's afraid, but because she treasures peace, that is power. Silence holds weight. Silence holds grace. Silence is a decision. And when you see a quiet woman in a world that's always shouting, respect her. She is not silent out of fear. She is silent because of strength. There is a kind of silence that doesn't come from fear or timidity. It comes from deep emotional wisdom. When a woman chooses not to speak in moments where words would only make things worse, it's not because she's unsure. It's because she understands. She knows that not every situation deserves her energy, and not every disagreement must be settled. Her silence isn't weakness. It's her strength in its most refined form. Emotional maturity doesn't need to be loud. It stays grounded, steady, and comes from self-awareness. And when a woman stays quiet in situations that would trigger most people, it shows she's no longer led by ego. She doesn't need to be the loudest to be heard or prove a point to feel valid. She's already enough within herself. And that quiet confidence speaks louder than any raised voice. Imagine a workplace. Picture a meeting where voices are raised, ideas are clashing, and people are trying hard to be noticed. In the middle of all that noise, there's one woman who's just sitting back. She listens carefully, takes everything in, and when she finally speaks, her words bring the room to calm. She didn't try to dominate. Her quietness gave her understanding. Her stillness gave her presence. And because she spoke with clarity, her words held weight. That is real emotional maturity. Or picture a relationship. Maybe a friend or a partner says something that stings, something unfair. Most people would respond immediately, defend themselves, maybe even raise their voices. But the mature woman knows something deeper. If someone is speaking from anger, that's not love speaking, it's pain. She stays quiet, not because she agrees, but because she knows that nothing healthy comes from talking when emotions are too high. She listens. She gives space. She lets her silence show that she's moved by wisdom, not emotion. You see, emotional maturity isn't about holding back your feelings. It's about knowing how to handle them. A quiet woman might feel deeply, but she doesn't let her emotions take over. She's learned how to manage her reactions instead of being ruled by them. She understands that anger spreads quickly when met with more anger, so she becomes the calm. Gentle but powerful. That's why she doesn't reply to every insult. That's why she doesn't need to explain herself to everyone who misunderstands her. Her peace is far too valuable to give away so easily. There's also something to learn from nature. The strongest trees don't shake every time the wind blows. The deep ocean stays still below the waves. Just like that, the silent woman isn't moved by opinions or small fights. She knows who she is. She doesn't have to prove anything. That self-knowledge gives her the freedom to save her energy for things that matter. It's not that she can't stand up for herself. It's that she knows not every situation needs her energy. She chooses what's worth her attention. It also takes great courage to stay quiet in a world that rewards being loud and seeking attention. It takes confidence to sit back and not chase applause. But the woman with emotional maturity doesn't need to be in the spotlight. She doesn't measure her value by how many people are watching. She knows that the most important changes happen in silence, and the most solid confidence doesn't need to be displayed. Let's not confuse silence with avoidance. The quiet woman speaks up when something really matters. But she does it with care, not with impulse. She waits until her heart is steady. Her mind is clear, and her words have a purpose. And when she does talk, people listen, not because they're scared, but because they respect her. This kind of strength doesn't appear overnight. It grows through time, pain lessons, and self-reflection. It grows from the times she spoke too much and realized it didn't help. It comes from being misunderstood and learning that trying to explain yourself to people who are determined not to understand you is often a waste of time. It comes from the wisdom of knowing that silence can say more than words ever could. So when you notice a woman who chooses silence, who stays calm and responds with grace, even when she's being tested, know that it's not because she's weak. She's not careless. She's thoughtful. Her strength isn't measured by how loud she speaks, but by how deeply she feels, how carefully she picks her words, and how peacefully she holds herself together in moments where others might fall apart. Her silence isn't empty. It holds reflection, strength, and clear intention. And that kind of quiet strength is something this loud world needs, more than ever. In a world that constantly demands our attention, time, and emotions, there is something powerful about a woman who chooses to protect her energy. Not her ego, but her energy. Because while ego yells, "Stand up for yourself," the soul gently says, "Protect your peace." The quiet woman isn't quiet out of fear. She's quiet because she knows not every comment needs a response. Not every disagreement deserves her voice. And not everyone should have access to her spirit. She won't spend her energy trying to prove herself to people who've already decided not to see her clearly. She's not living to win meaningless fights. She's living to guard her peace within. Think about it. How many times have we drained ourselves reacting to people who weren't even worth it? How many times did one rude comment ruin a perfectly good day? When we act from the ego, we feel the urge to correct everyone, explain ourselves again and again, and try to look right in every situation. But when we start moving with wisdom, we begin to filter. We begin to choose. And the silent woman has chosen to value her energy more than her pride. She doesn't chase attention. She doesn't answer just to be right. She only speaks when she knows peace is on the other side, because she understands how valuable her energy truly is. She knows it fuels her work, her relationships, her emotional balance, and her goals. And she won't give that energy to anyone who won't appreciate or support it. Picture her in a room full of gossip. People are talking, judging, stirring drama. She hears it all, but she stays silent. Not because she has no opinion, but because she understands the strength of not engaging. She knows gossip might make her feel involved in the moment, but it will steal her peace later. So she smiles softly, shifts her focus, and saves her energy for things that matter more. Or think of her in a tense discussion, maybe with a coworker or a family member. Voices get louder, tension rises, but she doesn't match their tone. She doesn't let their storm shake her inner calm. She stays steady. She breathes. She waits. She knows that anger spreads fast, but so does peace. And she's chosen to spread calm instead of chaos. Guarding her energy doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means she's mindful. It means saying, "I don't have to join every argument I'm pulled into." It means walking away, not because she's giving up, but because she knows her peace is worth more than being right. She no longer reacts just to feed her pride. If someone crosses a line, she sets a boundary, not to hurt them, but to protect herself. If someone lies or plays games, she doesn't join in. She steps out of the situation completely because she's learned something powerful. The strongest move isn't always fighting back. Sometimes, the strongest move is simply walking away. People who don't understand this kind of strength might call her cold or distant. But they don't see what she's been through. They don't know the battles she's already fought just to be at peace. They don't know how long it took her to become this calm, this centered, this grounded. They don't see the quiet strength it takes to rise above noise, to stop explaining, to stop proving, and to simply be. She's no longer chasing approval. She's focused on staying in alignment with who she truly is. She doesn't care about winning arguments. She wants to win her peace of mind. And that level of awareness is something many never reach. It's a quiet transformation that happens when you finally see that not every situation needs a reaction. Not every person deserves an explanation. Even in her daily life, her clarity shows. She says no without guilt. She changes her plans without long explanations. She leaves messages unread when they feel draining, not to be rude, but to protect her peace. She's not avoiding people. She's simply putting herself first. And that's not selfish. That's sacred. You see, ego wants to fight, but energy wants to be free. And freedom is what she chooses. Freedom from toxic patterns, from constant approval seeking, from emotional mess. There's a saying that goes, "Don't wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it." The quiet woman lives by that. She knows silence doesn't mean surrender. It means she's choosing what truly matters. She doesn't waste her energy on fights that won't bring peace. And that's why she moves differently. That's why people feel calm when she's around. That's why her presence speaks, even when her mouth doesn't. Because she's not driven by ego. She's led by something deeper. She has learned how to put her peace above her pride, her purpose above her ego, and her presence above performance. That kind of strength doesn't shout. It quietly transforms the room. There is a form of leadership that doesn't show up with loud words, tight control, or the need to be in charge. It shows up with calm, with presence, with quiet but firm energy. And people follow, not because they're forced to, but because they're drawn to it. That's the kind of leadership the quiet woman carries. She doesn't try to dominate the space, yet everything shifts when she enters. She doesn't force people to respect her. Her actions speak for her. Her calm presence earns their respect naturally. Many think leadership is about giving directions, holding power, or making others follow. But true leadership, the kind that changes lives, isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. It earns it. And the silent woman, the one who leads without pushing, knows this truth deep in her heart. She knows people don't respond to pressure. They respond to feeling. They follow realness. They respond to kindness, to trust, to the steady energy you give off, even when you're quiet. That's why she doesn't try to control others. She leads by example. Think of her at work. She might not speak the most in meetings. She may not push her ideas the hardest. But when she does speak, people listen. Because her words come from thought, not pride. She gives credit where it's due. She listens before she talks. She doesn't micromanage. She gives space and trust. Her leadership isn't about making others feel small. It's about helping them feel strong. And because of that, people naturally want to work with her, not just for her. Or think of her at home. She doesn't raise her voice to be heard. She shows the value she wants to pass on. Her kids learn kindness not because she tells them to, but because they see it in her. Her partner feels understood not because she wins every disagreement, but because she truly listens. She leads her home with care, with love, and with steady support. She's the calm in the chaos, the strong yet gentle center, holding it all together. She doesn't need to prove she's in charge. She works together with others. She doesn't say, "Follow me because I said so."